Hello everyone. In this lecture 32, we will understand what is pay scale structure and feature tariff. Till now, you are aware of some of the structures in HCM, like enterprise structure, personal structure, organizational structure. Now, this is pay scale structure which is relevant for pay scale, which is nothing but I'm talking about the info type 8. Info type 8, if you recall, it is a basic pay info type. So let us understand what is pay scale type, what is pay scale area, what is employee subgroup grouping for PCR and cap, and what is pay scale group and level, and then feature tariff. What is pay scale type? Pay scale type defines the area of economic activity for which a collective agreement is valid. The area in which it is valid may be determined at company or trade union level and often applies to a whole industry. For example, the chemical and metal processing industries or the civil service. So what is collective agreement actually? Collective agreement is basically the oral or written contract entered into between an employer and a union that is negotiating on behalf of all the employees that the union represents. So in business context, a collective agreement typically includes any wages, hours, benefits, rules or working conditions that have been mutually agreed upon. So pay scale type is a type of industry where this is applicable, like it could be chemical industry or it could be like a sector of industry. I would say it could be chemical, it could be manufacturing industry, it could be software, where this collective agreement is valid. So it is talking about that particular area of economic activity for which a collective agreement is valid. So I hope you understand. The pay scale type defines the area of economic activity for which a collective agreement is valid. So now, what is pay scale area? So you know pay scale type is the sector of industry where the collective agreement is valid. Now pay scale area is the geographical area. It is also dependent where the collective agreement is valid. But both differences, this is geographical area and that is where the economic activity, like basically whatever the union has agreed, like what the pay scale should be given to the employee based on the sector of industry. So this is like a geographical area. So the geographical validity area is determined by the size of the pay scale area. So that was the difference between pay scale type and pay scale area. Pay scale type can be sector of industry and pay scale area is geographical location, and both are dependent where a collective agreement, like what is the agreement has been done between the employer and the union, and where it is valid. So this is the configuration where you have to go and create your pay scale type and pay scale area. I will show you practically, it will be more easy, but this is just a screenshot for your remembrance, because when you go through the slide, I have given some screenshot for your easy. Now, what is employee subgroup for PCR and cap? Employee subgroup, you know, because employee subgroup could be salaried, hourly, right? What is employee subgroup for PCR and cap? Let us understand what does this full form of PCR and cap means. PCR is the personal calculation rule and CAP is the collective agreement provision, which we just now learned about that, what is collective agreement. So in this step, you can define the groupings for PCR and collective agreement provisions, like which group for hourly, which group for salaried, because the collective agreement provision is valid based on the employee subgroup. For the salaried, it could be different. For the hourly, it could be different. So these groupings will be configured. So why are we doing all this? Because we are focusing on the info type 8. If you remember my previous lecture of personal administration, I mentioned there that info type 8 is the basic pay info type, which is a payroll related info type, and that I will cover during the payroll section, which is basically this section. So now we are basically configuring the items which are or I would say the elements which are relevant for info type 8. So now just now we learned about pay scale type and pay scale area, and this is the grouping for the personal and the collective. Personal calculation rule means for the personal, collective agreement provision is for the collective union. So now those three items have been done. Now what is pay scale group and level? Pay scale groups and pay scale levels are the criteria used to classify data for job evaluations and indirect valuations. What do you mean? Pay scale group could be manager, and pay scale level could be senior manager, junior manager, or level 1, level 2, level 3. Because this is very important to classify data for job valuations. Normally in the companies, that salary is decided based on the pay scale group and level. If the employee belongs to this pay scale group and if he belongs to this pay scale level, this should be the salary, or this should be the particular amount. So what does it mean? You are manager, your pay scale group is manager, but you would be on the level 1, and your friend is also manager, he is on level 2. So now the salary is different for both of you. Why? Because even the pay scale group is same, but level are different. So these 5 items are really important: pay scale type, pay scale area, employee subgroup grouping for PCR and CAP, and then pay scale group and level. These are really important, and then because these are really important in the sense for info type 8. Without this particular configuration, you will not be able to go to info type 8. I'll show you what is info type 8 looks like and where this configuration impacts the info type 8. Now the last one is like a feature. So in our previous lecture, you might be learning about the feature, like what is the purpose of feature. So the purpose of feature is same. Feature is used to default the value for a specific field for this specific info type. Each particular feature has its own specific info type, and the purpose is to default the value for a specific field in that specific info type. Now here, if you see, the feature tariff is used to default the pay scale type and pay scale area in the info type 8. So we have learned what is pay scale type, we have learned what is pay scale area. I also told you like this pay scale type and area are some of the 2 fields which will be in info type 8. Now if you want to default these 2 things, pay scale type and pay scale area, in info type 8, then you can use this feature tariff. If you recall the feature ABKRS for payroll area, right? That feature was used to store the payroll area in info type 1. Similarly, this feature is used to default pay scale type and pay scale area in info type 8. Now the return value of this feature, because see, return value means what you are returning in the info type, right? Because return value is the end of your decision in the feature, and you are basically telling the system, hey, my decision is done, now return this value to that particular specific field in that info type. So now this feature tariff is defaulting pay scale type and pay scale area in info type 8. So the return value in the feature will be pay scale type slash pay scale area. For example, 02 is the pay scale type, then slash, and then 01 is the pay scale area. So this completes our slides. Let us go to SAP and basically like understand how to configure the pay scale type and pay scale area. I am going to SPRO. I am going to the implementation guide. Let us go to personal management and then go and expand the personal management here. Then go to personal administration here, go to payroll data, because this is payroll relevant configuration, and in the payroll data go to basic pay because this is in type 8 related. Now do you see the pay scale structure here? Pay scale type, pay scale area, employee subgroup grouping for PCR and collective agreement provision, as well as you are able to see the default for pay scale data. Normally in SAP the feature name is not defined here, in the sense like it doesn't show the name of the feature like tariff. You have to understand when the word default comes, you can easily understand that this is basically pointing to the feature. So let's start our configuration from here. What is the first one is define employee subgroup grouping for PCR and collective agreement provision. I click on this IMG, it is asking me for which country. I am telling it is for country 10. I hit enter. This screen will come. I am searching for my employee group. So this employee group subgroup I already know because we have already configured in the personal structure. So they are basically being shown here. Now I know this is hourly, this is salary. Now I have to basically group these employees based on the collective agreement provision, like who will be getting what sort of wage types, who will be getting what sort of salary. So this grouping number is really important because it is basically deciding what wage types and other attributes of the payroll will be going to this group and which is valid for this group. So these values 1 and 3 are basically given by SAP. If you press F1 on this particular field, you will get this screen. See what does this screen says? 1 is for hourly, 3 is for salaried. So I am using the same values what SAP has provided to us. So I say 1 because it is hourly. I am providing 3 because this is salary. Similarly, I am using the same values 1 and 3. So what I have done, I have given the grouping number for my employee subgroup grouping for PCR and collective agreement provision. PCR is personal calculation rule. Collective agreement provision is CAP. Now, once I have done, let me go and define the pay scale type. So in my slide, I told you pay scale type is basically the sector of industry. So I have created one pay scale type called ZS. So when you have to create, you just go and click on new entries. Now I have created the pay scale type called as ZF, which is nothing but Zenith software. I have just given the name of the sector of the industry. Now my pay scale type is ZF. Now I'm going back. I am telling, okay, what is the pay scale area? Now I am clicking on pay scale area here. Pay scale area is the geographical location. So I have created one like ZC, which is Zenith Chicago. Now this is pay scale area. I have created grouping. I have created pay scale type. Now I have created pay scale area. Now the feature tariff purpose is to store the pay scale type and area in info type 8 so that you can default these two values over in info type 8. Let us go to this feature. As I have been telling you that when you talk about feature, there are two different ways to access the feature. Either if you know the transaction code PE03, you can go to the transaction code, enter the feature name. For example, let me show you here. So /n PE03 is the transaction code to access any feature. Now you hit enter, this screen comes up. You can enter the name of the feature and go and click change. So this is basically taking you through the transaction code. But if you don't know the transaction code and name of the feature, it's better you just go in the configuration and click on this particular node. What is this node? Determine default for pay scale data. What is pay scale data? Pay scale type and pay scale area. Let me click on this particular node here. See, it is also pointing us to the same screen. So the decision here what I have given is if the country is Molga, which is 10. So how to create the feature I showed you in one of my previous lecture in the feature Numker and also for the feature ABKRS I think. Just refer how to create the feature and then create this feature here. So if the country is 10, then I'm returning the value pay scale type / pay scale area. What is my pay scale type? ZS, which is nothing but Zenith Software, and then /ZC. ZC is Zenith Chicago, which is nothing but my payroll area. So this is the format which you have to give the return value in this feature. Each feature has a different way of returning the value, but specifically for this feature tariff, you have to give pay scale type / pay scale area. Now after you save, you just come out of the screen. So now you have done with the pay scale structure. You have basically created a pay scale type, you have created pay scale area, you have also grouped your employee subgroup grouping for PCR and collective agreement provision, and now you have defined the pay scale type and pay scale area in the info type 8. There is one thing left, which is pay scale group and level, which I will basically teach you in the next lecture, because this is touching some other areas. But now let us go and see the info type 8. Let us see whether this pay scale type and area is getting defaulted or not. I am putting PA3 here. So after entering PA3 here, let us go to this screen, which is HR master data maintain. I am entering my number, personal number, whatever the personal number you want to test, you can enter here. Then go and search for your info type, which is info type 8. 8 is nothing but basic pay. See, when I pressed enter, it is showing me the name of the info type. Now go and click on create. The moment you go and click on create, see, the pay scale type and pay scale area are defaulted here. Why? Because we have maintained these two values in the feature, and we have given the decision if any employee belongs to country grouping 10, then in that employee's record in info type 8 default the pay scale type and area, which the system did. So this is the way how you create the basic pay scale structure. Hope you understood. Create your own pay scale type and area, create your own feature, and check whether it is getting defaulted in info type 8. Thank you.